What's up, Toledo? What's up to the rest of the world? It's me, DebraSue, Glass City Talent in the studio, and we are here with Toledo to the World broadcast. Tonight, I have a very special guest. We have some really interesting information to share with everyone tonight. I'm going to wait a few minutes so I can get a few more people tuned in here. We are going to talk about money, folks. We're going to talk about finances, folks. We're going to talk about some things that you may have questions to, and we are hoping to have the answers to. But straight off the gate, let me make the disclaimer that we are not financial. I'm not a financial expert, and anything that's talked about on this show is simply for your useful information. You apply it how you can, and if you don't, then you don't. Okay, so that's the disclaimer for today. Okay, so we are here and we are just simply having a chat about some things that we need to talk about. And as people, where we are in today's economic society, we probably should just talk about money, finances, so forth and so on. So my guest in the studio today is Nate McAlister. Mr. McAlister, I'm gonna call him Nate, folks, for the rest of the show. He is a financial consultant. Now, understand that a consultant is just that. Okay, he consults. You're asking a question, he's offering a probable suggestion to you, a consultation for you. So, if you hear something that you like, you can delve deeper into it. If you don't, then ask questions and we can address something else that you may be concerned with. Okay, so let's just set that out right straight at the gate. And we are going to welcome Nate to the stage. Welcome to the stage, Mr. Nate McAlister.
Hey, DebraSue, how you doing today?
I'm very well. Happy to see you, my longtime friend. We've known each other for quite a while now,
Yes, ma'am.
and we have followed each other through different ventures from the entertainment industry to where we are today.
Yes, yes.
Still
Life
doing
life
that
changes
professionally.
fast.
Life changes fast, and we got to roll with it, don't we?
Yes, ma'am.
That's
Yes,
what's
ma'am. We got
up.
to keep on growing.
So Nate, let's go ahead and let's talk about what you're doing now. Let's talk about the importance of your role as a financial consultant.
Uh, Currently, I'm a partner with New York Life. What I mainly do is I help train, I help hire, I help train, and help develop people to come into the financial services field. I basically I help people build multi six-figure practices. My goal is I want to see more people of color in this business simply because we're just not reaching enough people in our community. And that's one of the
Okay.
reasons why I do what I do. The
Okay.
tagline from when I was just an agent was I help people build wealth so they can live life on their own terms. And
Hmm.
I show people how to build wealth. And now with my more licensure and what I'm able to do now, my better understanding of finances, I'm able to help even more people now than I was when I was just an agent.
Okay, that's interesting. Why did you choose that field? Because as I mentioned at the onset, you have done several things, pretty important things related to society and helping people. What made you decide to get into this particular industry?
I spent a lot of time in entertainment, and I had some very interesting conversations with some people. I used to manage a legacy rap act, and we would talk all the time about all the millions of dollars that they made, right? And
Mm-hmm.
we talked about what they didn't have, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I also, I came across a young man who I managed who came into a little bit of money, and I couldn't tell him what to do with the money, right?
Oh,
I did get him to somebody who took care of him, but I don't think he gave him the level of care he should have. And when the pandemic came, everybody's life was turned upside down. Mine namely, even though I tried to eke it out, I wanted to find a way to help people. And
okay.
this is where I ended up. This is where God brought me.
Wow. Okay. So you kind of followed a path that was set for you and changed. You changed horses in the middle of the game. Then basically in the middle of the
I
road.
You know what? When God wants you in a certain place, you just got to go. You know
That's
what I
right.
mean? Like, I think I was supposed to be in this business 20 some years ago.
Uh huh.
But I was hard headed, and I finally listened, and here I am, and I'm happy that I made it because I'm
Okay.
actually helping more people now than I ever have in my life.
Actually, yeah, and that's one of the things that I can say about you. You've always been in the business of helping people, whether it was entertainment or certain areas of business. That seems to have always had been something that you wanted to do, because I know you used to hop around city to city, and you just would help where you were asked to help, and that's commendable. It's really commendable. I'm happy to see that. So we talk about hopping into, changing lanes in the middle of the road here. What exactly drew you to, besides your anointed calling, I should say, what really solidified to you that this is something that you needed to be doing?
I just people. I just needed to help people. I mean, there was a
Okay.
need there. I mean,
Uh-huh.
there's nobody in our community that looks like me or sounds like me or even have my background. And when they do, they change.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm able to bring a wealth of information and a wealth of knowledge from I grew up out Stickney in Toledo, right?
Okay.
I went to Scott High School.
Mm-hmm.
There isn't another guy like me that could communicate with people that look like me, sound like me, talk like me, think like me, or thought like
Okay.
me, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that's why I'm here. You know, I,
Okay.
I I'm here to help people. You know what I mean? And this
Mm-hmm.
this allowed me to be able to give without having to take. Because I've
I
done other
got you.
jobs where I've had to take,
Mm-hmm.
take from people to enrich myself, right? And I don't
Right.
like that. I really deep
Okay.
down, I want to give you. If I'm gonna make money, why come I can't help you? Right?
Mm-hmm.
That's what
Mm-hmm.
I love about this job is that because every day, my income and everything is based upon helping others.
For sure. For sure.
We've all heard of we help others get more of what they want so we can get more of what we want. And that's kind of like how this career is working out for me.
So speaking of helping others, what's the most important lesson that you've learned from helping others manage their money?
Budgeting,
Okay.
understanding what their expenses is, what's coming out, what's not, what is part of your lifestyle, what's not part of your
Mhm.
lifestyle. And when I say lifestyle is, you know, like if you like to drive a certain kind of car or eat at a certain restaurant, or you like to do certain things, that's part of your lifestyle. But then some of
Mhm.
the other things that we do is just wasteful money. We're following social media trends, right?
Mhm.
Uh, you know, the guy who goes out and buys a pair of $600 sneakers every month, right? Um, and he don't have a car, right? We
Yeah,
always joke
for sure.
about that, right?
Uh-huh.
Or just a lot of different things we do. But the biggest thing is budgeting. Once we understand, what we need to pay compared to what we don't need to pay, what's necessary and what's not necessary, that
Mhm.
starts changing our lives. That's
Okay.
the biggest lesson that I've learned is just budgeting is very important.
So speaking of budgeting, what is, in particular in our community, what is the biggest myth that you'd like to debunk, that people, for years have thought about money? What would you think would be the biggest thing that we would have to straighten out the misconception of?
I mean that you don't have to be rich to get rich. That's the first thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um, if there's certain sound practical money things that we can do to change our lives. There's even books, right? They got
Mm-hmm.
books like The Millionaire Next Door, The Richest Man in Babylon. They teach a lot of principles that everyday people can learn, right?
Yeah,
A
for
lot of
sure.
people say, I'm never going to get rich, but if they knew that the average millionaire only makes $70,000-$80,000 a year,
Mm-hmm.
that's real. You know what I mean? There's millionaires being born every day, and it's not somebody who's making $1 million a year. They're making 70, 80 grand, and they're invested it right.
So what would
That's
you say, to, the 60, 70, 80-year-old grandmother who's like, well, I'm not going to put my money in the bank, it's just going to get stolen, or I'm happy putting my money under my mattress. that's
well,
that's a long that's a long time misconception. What would you say to that?
well, the problem is your money always needs to be getting some leverage on it, right?
Mm-hmm. Okay.
We need to be looking at our money in short term, mid term, and long term goals.
Mm-hmm.
Now, to pay your bills, you got to have your money in the bank, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um, Nobody is really carrying around cash no more in this almost digital society, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
we have to understand the tools out there that's available to us to help us get through this world. There are tools out here. There are opportunities that the money that we're saving, right? It needs to have some kind of leverage on. You need to be earning interest on every dollar that's not meant to pay bills right now, right? If you got money that you save for long-term savings and it's sitting under your mattress, you're not getting any leverage on it. I got a client that a little bit over a year ago, they gave me $10,000. That was his emergency fund, right?
Okay.
And I said, well, when do you need the money? He says, man, it's my emergency fund. Well, a year later, he is worth $12,000. Just because we put it in the market and we did what was right by it, he's grown $2,000.
Okay.
So if he has an emergency, he got $2 more grand to that emergency, right? You know, he's so happy because if he needs to come grab that money, he can. Right. But it's grown. It's growing. And that's what I try to tell that grandmother, 70, 80 years old, right? Even though there's rules that we got to follow by for her, right? I'm really not trying to change the older generation too much, right?
For sure.
You know, I mean, it's hard to tell your grandmother anything, right?
Yeah.
She didn't forgot more than what I ever know, right?
Right.
But I try to talk to her to reach her children and her grandchildren that we got to do differently. And then I usually speak to those grandmothers and say, okay, what were the mistakes that you did? That $10,000 that you put under your mattress 20 years ago, it's still $10,000, and the 10,000 isn't worth what it was 10, 20 years ago.
That's very
because
true.
the money didn't grow. You didn't beat inflation, right? You know, and here's something I want everybody to know is that when you hear about inflation, that means your money's worth less. It's not that things cost more, your money's worth less. So a dollar, when I was a kid, a dollar, I could go to the movies. I could do a lot of things with a buck, right? $5, oh my God, I could go on a date with $5, $10.
Yeah.
I know that same day.
$5 can feed 2 people.
Yeah. Remember, you know, we're dating ourselves, but I remember 30 years ago, $10, I put $2 in the tank. I take a girl to the dollar show. And we could go to McDonald's after, and I might have $1 or $2 left over after a date. Now that same date is going to run me $80, $90, $100.
Right.
Same thing, because my money is worth less. Right. So I'm more or less trying to change people's mindset just on investing, getting some leverage on your money, making some interest on your money, right? That's how we start changing it, right? It's showing you the benefits. Like I showed a client of, give me your emergency fund. It sets for a year. It goes from $10,000 to $12,000, right? He had it just sitting in his bank account, and he was paying fees on that money. Right now, it's growing, right? Now he's calling me back saying, me and my wife got another 5,000.
Yeah. Well,
I got another tier.
Let's talk about that, because we're trying to make this thing something that everybody can understand. So we're going to talk about, if you don't have $10,000, if you don't have $5,000, what are the steps that people need to take to set a budget?
Okay. Well, you set a budget, you got to figure out what you got to pay, right? I need to pay my rent. I need to pay my utilities. I need to buy food. I need to do yada, 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 yada. Then you need to look at the dollars coming in. Then there should be a surplus generally, right? Sometimes there isn't a surplus, right? There isn't a surplus. Then we got to figure out how to create a surplus. Maybe we need to go get a second job. Maybe we need to get a side hustle, right? Just to invest, right? But we need to just start putting money away, even if it's just $5 a month to get started, right? It's a beautiful thing that I learned, that the more money we have, the more money we will have. Right? Meaning that, let's say I save $20, right? Believe it or not, if I'm disciplined, I'm putting away $5 a month, I'm gonna walk down the street, I might find a $10 bill. Or somebody calls me with a $20 opportunity, right? And people say, oh, that's small. But that's how the money's made, $1 at a time. It's the hardest money to make is that first. If you want to have $1 million, the hardest is get that first 100,000.
For sure.
Right?
Yeah.
Then that money just kind of grows. it just kind of blows up. If you had 100,000, then it turns into 1,000,000 real fast. But it's hard to get to that 100,000. So I tell people, start with $1, start with $5. They got these books. They got these books where people put the money in it, and then when you complete it, you got 5,000. Start with that. Start with a little can. Start with taking your change out of your pocket and having a change thing, and then having a discipline and saying, I'm not going to touch it.
Right.
I'm just not going to touch it.
And isn't it a great thing for us to teach that to our kids, especially if they're little? We give them one of those little money saving packets, and if you don't have one, you can actually do it with a couple different envelopes, 12 envelopes. So so you can have an envelope a month. And then you have your kids start stacking away, a couple bucks a month from their allowance or from their, their chore money or what have you. And that's a great way to teach them how to start small. And then at the end of the year, they can have, 100, 120 to some of them more than that. Depends on how much they work for an allowance. It's just a matter of not just ourselves learning, but teaching that to our children as well, right?
Definitely. Because if we're not worrying about the youth and the next generation, I mean, how rich can we actually be, right?
Exactly.
I could talk all this biblical stuff, but the Bible talks about what we're supposed to be doing, right? Every religion talks about what you're supposed to do for your children, right? But a lot of times we get so caught up in having the new Jordans, doing what they're doing on TikTok or YouTube or wherever, right? Oh, that doing, watching the Joneses next door, right? We need to look more inwardly, right? See what's important. We need to start talking about money with our kids and with our families.
Right.
Because I come from a generation where if I ask my family how much money you make, oh, shut up. Why are you asking me that?
It's voodoo.
How much you pay for
this
car?
Huh? It's voodoo.
Yeah. Right? Now, does that make me more educated or less? It makes me say, it doesn't make me know anything about money. Then I come into my first, let's say I'm 19, 20 years old, and I come into my first lump sum of money. I have no knowledge or anything about money, so I go blow it.
Yeah.
Now, but then you have other communities, they talk about money all of the child's life. Then it's miraculously, we say, oh, they had a leg up. Yes, they did have a leg up. But they also had some knowledge. They talked about money. They understand the importance of money, understand the budgeting, saving, investing, everything, right? Yeah. Because people are talking about it, right? But we can be the change. That's the big thing. We have the opportunity now, because the level field isn't level, but we at least have access to the same tools, right?
Yeah.
When a guy like me pops up and I'm telling you, okay, you just got your tax refund for $3,000. Why don't you take $1,500, put it over here, and watch it grow? Put $5, $10 a month with it, and next year when you get your tax refund, put another $1,500. In 10 years, you put away $15,000, and at the interest and everything, you might have 25, 30, 40 grand, right?
Yeah.
That money starts to, you put in the right investment, that money doubles every 7, 8 years.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Jonathan Coleman said he's taking notes. Thank you for joining us, Jonathan, and you too, Keith Porter. And before any of you want to jump on the line and say something, we're not talking about those of you who can buy Jordans. If that's your preference, that is what it is. You decide where you want to invest your money, because there are people out there who can afford to buy their children $6, $7, $8, $100 shoes. We're not necessarily, this is not the show for you if that's where you are, although it could be the show for you and your kids. But, whatever you decide to do with your money, that's your business. What we are trying to push is an education here, is that we want to have the discussion. That's it. And we want our kids to have the discussion. And we want to start as a people, as Black, white, yellow, brown people. What do we need to do to start saving money? Okay, what do we need to do to teach our children how to be, financially aware of how they're spending their little dollars and dimes?
And another thing that I find a lot in our community is that it's a lot of people who take financial advice from broke people. That I think that is the craziest thing ever. I hear people sitting up here saying, my cousin, and then you say, well, what does your cousin do for a living?
Mm-hmm.
And they say, oh, well, he kind of between jobs, but he seemed to be pretty smart with money. Okay, I'm actually licensed in this, right?
Yeah.
And then you'll be listening to somebody who has no licensure, no
Yeah.
experience. They may
Yeah.
be homeless, sleeping on the couch, and they're telling you, oh, if
Mm-hmm.
I had your hand, I cut mine off. They're telling you all this great stuff,
Mm-hmm.
but they can't even keep a roof over their head. And
Exactly.
that's a big thing we see in our community, right? We're
Mm-hmm.
listening to people who are not qualified to give us advice. They don't have half of what we do. We
Mm-hmm.
have, and we listen every
Right.
day, right?
Mm-hmm.
We also, another big thing we need to avoid is we need to stop listening to these scammers on the internet. Every week I hear about somebody calling me, man, this guy said I should if I put $10,000 in energy stocks, I'll get 3,000 every 3 months. I
Mm-hmm.
got 10,000 right now. Let me do it. Right.
Right.
I had a
Yeah.
client who actually did it. And I said, why didn't you call me? He said, because you was going to tell me no. I said, well, have you gotten your 3,000 yet? He said, no, I ain't got it yet. I said, why are you listening to somebody on the internet compared to listening to somebody that you've known for 30 years and licensed in this? He said,
Mm-hmm.
because you might have been wrong. I
Mm.
said, well, the government doesn't give me a licensure if I'm gonna be wrong.
Right.
Right.
And that's why it's so important, guys. And I'm going to say this for myself. This is why I have a connection with Nate right now to put him on the show, because he's legitimate. You have people out here who want to give you financial advice who are not, number one, he said a very key word is licensed. He's licensed in what he does, and I mean legally licensed to give you some steps to follow to help you manage your money per se. He's a consultant. That's why he does what he does. And so Nate, let me ask you this, because we live in a very uncertain financial climate right now.
Yeah.
People are the generations are getting older. How do you help mid-age people to older people relieve some of the anxiety that they may have about what is happening with money right now?
It's the same thing we do with anybody. We help them. We look at their budgets, right? We help them to try to pull out the fluff in the budgets. Let's stop spending money here, and let's put the money in vehicles that's going to grow the money and maybe be a little bit safer. Because the older you get, we have to practice safety, right?
Hmm. Absolutely.
So we're not looking at doing anything that's going to be volatile. There's a lot of opportunities. It's treasury bonds, treasury bills. I mean, you can always invest in government securities, which are safe, which you're going to get your principal, right?
Hmm.
Interest rates might not be huge, but it's a start, right?
Right.
Most of our problems I see with most people is they just don't have a budget. This is
Hmm.
it. They don't know what's coming in and what's going out. The worst thing in the world is sitting there with somebody saying, okay, you made 50,000 after taxes, you saw 38,000 after taxes, all your benefits and stuff like that. All your bills come to 1,900 because you're married or whatever, right?
Right. Uh-huh.
But we don't know what happened to the rest of the money. You have no idea. The
Hmm.
biggest thing is I sat down with a lady who makes 80 grand a year, and I went through everything. She has no kids. She got a house note. She got an old car. She's telling me she can't afford a $600 a month car note. I said, why? How come you can't? So then, as we going through her bills, I'm seeing she got $40,000 in unsecured credit card debt. And I said, well, what did you spend the money on? She says, I don't know. Because a lot of times we're double dipping,
Hmm.
right? Let me
Hmm.
explain what I mean. We got maybe 40,000 a year to spend, right? We got 20,000 in credit cards. We spend 60,000. And then we just get another credit card when the other ones get maxed out and we're making a minimum payment. We
Hmm.
become debt slaves.
For
So I
sure.
tell everybody is let's understand how much money we're making, what's going out, what's coming in, right? What emergencies, right?
Hmm.
Everybody, your first goal is to try to save up $100. That should be
Hmm.
your first goal. Your
Okay.
second goal is to get to 500. Your third goal is to get 1,000 and not touch it. Because the average American can't touch $1,000 without using some kind of debt instrument, credit instrument, to be able to save the day, right?
Hmm.
Then can you have 6 months 3 months, 6 months worth of expenses, right?
Mm-hmm.
This takes time, right?
Mm-hmm.
Uh, are we where is our money going, right? A lot of us have 401ks and we're putting too much in our 401ks. And I'm not telling you not to invest in it, but don't overinvest. Maybe maybe the job is matching you 3% and you're putting in 9%. Take that other 6%, stop paying it into the job 401k, and put that and put that into a money market fund. Put that into a mutual fund, right? Put that in
Mm-hmm.
some kind of investment vehicle that's going to be safe, that's going to grow, right? And believe it, over time you will start having some money, right?
Yeah.
Once we start, and then we got to get rid of these get rich quick schemes, right? When a guy or gal calls us talking about, oh yeah, give me $50, I'm gonna get you in business, and then you find yourself just spending out money. We need to stop that because the people that
You
are
know what?
most
I'm
effective,
guilty of that myself. I'm guilty. I've been in some pyramid schemes, some susus, whatever they call.
look, me too.
Because I certainly do not want to sit here and portray myself as somebody different because I promise you, on God, I have done not all of them, but I've gotten wrapped up in some stuff. And to be honest with you, some of them work for a while. And at some point, they come to an end. And you, unfortunately, somehow or another, you're going to lose money on those things. And so I think when it comes to having a budget and when it comes to your investments with regard to a 401k and what have you, it's just all about changing your mindset. You have to step out on the ledge, as they say, and just change your mindset as to how you're going to do this going forward.
Well, I mentioned two books, okay, and I want everybody to pick one of them: Millionaire Next Door or The Richest Man in Babylon, right? The
Mm-hmm.
Richest Man in Babylon, I love it. They got it on audio. You can get it as an audio book on YouTube for free, right? Listen to it. They got a couple different versions of The Richest Man in Babylon. Listen to it with the family. Listen to it by yourself. There's some
Mm-hmm.
principles in here that's been working for over 2,000 years, 3,000 years, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um, Educate this, change this, and everything else will follow. And then another thing is, I know an Asian lady on the TV show that says if you watch the pennies, the dollars will take care of themselves, right?
I
She's
like
right.
that. Yeah,
A
I
lot of
like that.
times is if we just watch those pennies, we penny pinch a little bit,
Mm-hmm.
we can make a change. Because, and I
Mm-hmm.
have some people that told me, "Oh, Nate, where's money in the revolution?" Or, well, without money, there is no revolution. There's nothing happen, right? We live in a
Mm-hmm.
money dominated world. Cash rules
Mm-hmm.
everything around me, right?
Right.
When you get that
Exactly.
dollar bill, figure out what to do with it and stop wasting it. And give me a
Mm-hmm.
call. I'm here for you.
And you know what? That's where we're going next. So I just want to do a little takeaway of what we talked about today, guys, because we are already at the 6:28 hour. And I told Nathan once we got to talking, this time was really gonna fly by because it's some really good information, quite frankly. And so it's almost a half an hour is almost not long enough, in my opinion. But the takeaway from this thing is to try to make some adjustments. You don't have to make the biggest adjustments, but you really do need to have an honest analysis of your own finances and what you need to do. And if you have to start over, then start over. I mean, we all have to do that at some point in life. I've done it a couple of times myself. But at some point, if you start over and you get yourself on the right path and you can stay focused on that path, and you can absolutely meet your goals, doesn't matter what your age is. So
Yeah.
Nathan, what's the best way, in your opinion, for people to reach out to you if they want to continue this conversation?
You can reach me through Facebook or you can call me at 419-290-4217. That's 419-290-4217.
Okay, and you're
If
the
you
life
Google
ins-
me or anything else, I should pop up too.
okay, and the insurance company that you represent. Well,
New York Life. We're the number one life insurance company in America.
there you go, right there. Okay, and so remember, folks. Nate just gave you his telephone number. Trying to lose my voice here. I apologize. Just gave you his number. He just gave you an alternative way to reach out through him on social media. Please do so. Please reach out to him if you want to, do something with your finances or you just don't know what to do. Nathan is here to help you take that first step. I've known Nate for a very, very long time, and I will tell you he's a very trustworthy person. So I wouldn't bring him on here if he wasn't everybody. Understand that.
All right.
So Nate,
Well,
I
thank
want
you,
to thank you.
DebraSue.
You're absolutely welcome. Thank you very, very much for being on my platform, Toledo to the World with DebraSue. And I look forward to having you on again. I'm going to bring you back again. We'll have some follow up, and maybe you can bring some Toledo success stories that you can come and share with everyone else. Okay.
Definitely. Have a
All right,
great day, y'all.
everybody. We're going to tune out right now. Make sure you join me next week for another really good episode. I have another very special guest that I'm bringing on that I'm sure I'm going to have some information with that person that you're going to enjoy and you can use as well. Until then, everybody, we're going to tune out and say good night. Take care and stay warm. We'll see you next week. Take care, everyone. Bye bye.
Peace.